Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout. My name is Tom, and today we've got another team reveal video, and I'm joined by Chris. Chris, how are you doing?
I'm all right. I'm a little bit tired, and I'm a little bit tired of having my team ripped apart on spaces and by people, by commentary. But I'm looking forward to the comments already in this to this video, which are going to be caustic. I no doubt expect. But yeah, I'm all right.
Good. Yeah, we'll get into your team shortly, but just first of all, people will have heard you a lot on the spaces over the summer, on a few of the videos as well. Do you want to explain a little bit more about yourself? One of the co-founders of Fantasy Football Scout.
Yeah, I'm another one of the young signings, 22 years old. Just getting learning the game. No, I was involved in Scout from the very beginning, really. The GOAT, Mark Sutton's. Oh, shaft of light should appear whenever it's mentioned. But he sat the site, and I got involved quite early. Known Mark for many years before then. Got involved quite early to kind of help him turn it from just being a great site into a business. So I've been here since, I don't know, I've been here decade or more, and it was I was the shadowy Svengali figure behind the scenes a lot of the time, and but I am a massive fan of football and fantasy, but I've been doing all the deals and helping things like the members area happen and other bits and pieces. So but yeah, now I'm a bit more front and center. So I'm kind of working with the motley crew that've got an incredible team actually, and who do most of the work, but I can tend to wade in at the start of the season to kind of help us crack forward. But
Yeah. How long have you been playing fantasy football? Since the days it was the post?
oh,
or not?
back in the day, it was all paper. It was all paper and mailed in. I'm on the phone. I remember phoning in transfers to, I think it was the Telegraph game, and I remember having things like, you're a young man. I'm probably like I am. I know I'm about twice your age, right? I remember having. You used to kind of get, and this was not necessarily fantasy, but this is the sort of football experience you used to have. You used to get these bit of cardboard with the league ladder, and you'd move little bits of cardboard up and down each week to see where people were. And fantasy, yeah, you had to send in at one point. I think it was a Telegraph game or the original fantasy game, which became a Telegraph game, or vice versa. You had to send in transfers by a post, and then it got really modern. It moved to phone. You had to phone in transfers to make your transfers, and then work out if they'd happened. And you get sent letters back with your confirmed kind of lineup, which was incredible. I don't think you could make transfers every week, so it wasn't quite as mad as that. I think it was like transfer windows, and then you kind of had to live with it a bit. But yeah, no, I've been doing it it's a long time since as long as there's been fantasy, I've been kind of engaged with it. But I will say, when I first joined Mark, I'd been playing fantasy, and I loved, football games and stuff. And I've been in the games industry as well as the football industry now. And I thought, oh yeah, fantasy football, I'm pretty good at football. I'll come in, I'll know this. And I remember coming in, just coming in and coming to some meetings with the editorial team. And it was like Mark, and there's Paul, and there's pre-Neil and the other team. And I think literally there was this kind of chat the first kind of week. It can't have been even on Zoom, it wouldn't have existed then. But there was a kind of a chat we were all on. And the first thing was some guy sharing this spreadsheet with alternating kind of goalkeepers and all these other kind of permutations on points. And I was like, my head had been blown. So I was very much an eye test guy, I think it's fair to say. I've come to love some of the stats, but yeah, I'm in awe of the people that create these tables and tools, and people like Chris Atkinson. Obviously, there's loads of people on our team, like kind of Reese and Will, doing brilliant stuff with the StatsBomb data. It's all above my. I love the StatsBomb visualizations, but the data stuff is just over my head. But yeah, sorry, I could talk about it. It's probably not riveting video content. So people want to rip my team apart rather than hear about my life story.
No, it's interesting. Phoning in for your transfers is funny. I like that. There was no casuals in those days. You had to properly pay your postage stamp and everything.
It cost you a fortune, actually. You think about it when you're playing it back then, because you're exactly. God, what could go wrong? What could go wrong?
Yeah. So what we've been doing in all these videos is getting a little bit of fan perspective before revealing the team. You're an Everton fan, big Everton fan. So I'll bring up a members table.
Yeah, cool.
I'll bring up a members table and read it out briefly for the podcast. So we've got the key Everton FPL assets sorted by expected goal involvement last season. Calvert-Lewin.
Long list, this.
Calvert-Lewin is at the top with 14.5 from 26 starts, so it's not too bad. and then McNeil in second and Decore are the only other players to have more than 10 XGI. Mopé is on there, sorry, as a Brentford player, but he is on this table. And then the best defender for XGI is Tarkowski with just over 5. So Chris, I guess we'll start with Calvert-Lewin. What do you think about him? He's had a bit of a price drop, 6 million this year.
I don't think he's an option you should lead in with for 2 or 3 reasons. One, he might not be there. I think there's still, as an insight thing, there's still a lot of dispute at the club of whether he's going to sign a contract to be here. And he's in his last year as well. So I think if an offer comes in, he came quite close against Newcastle. I understand from the rumours. He doesn't call me up personally, but I don't think I'd be going there. I think Everton's fixtures are all right at the start. Actually, I think in the first 10, they're top of the season ticket if you go to 10. But I don't know if Calvert-Lewin would be the target person if he's still there. So it's kind of obviously being there is a big factor, and then it's just kind of being fit. He has been quite injury prone in recent years, and so he started 26 games last season, only 15 the season before, and he got 7 goals and 3 assists. And we just don't create as many chances. That said, we are buying new players in. We've got the new lads, God, I can't remember his name now, who came in
from Napoli, was it today?
And there was a Napoli guy. Is it coming today? There is a guy from Napoli coming.
Been announced today, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I've been too busy doing content. I haven't seen it. Ndiaye was an ex-Sheffield United player who was in France for a bit. He looks quite exciting. He's quite an exciting, progressive player. There's a new Napoli thing. Has that been unveiled? That's been going on a little while. That's that kind of player coming in. And also, there's a lot of talk about Nonto from Leeds, which is so Lindstrom's guy. So I was looking at Jesper Lindstrom from Napoli, who was really attacking when he was previously in the Bundesliga. I think he was at Frankfurt. Had a bit of a mare season last year in Napoli, but I don't know. Always work on with changing leagues. But they bought him for 30 million. Liverpool have been interested in the past. He's apparently really, really quick. He's very skillful. He's going to get opportunities. So I think if Nonto comes as well, is also very pacey. I think suddenly our attacking options are going to look a bit more spicy. And then in that case, if you've got a couple of people bombing on, and you've also got alternating that with Harrison and my brain's gone now. McNeil, thank you very much. It's been a long day, I told you. Then I think you can see more chances. The thing is, obviously Calvert-Lewin didn't get more. I think he was joint top scorer with Decore. Decore actually was quite a goal threat, and he got a fair number of chances as well. Got 7 goals, 3 assists. He's more kind of nailed to start. 5.5 midfield. I guess the problem is there's so many good midfield options. You're probably not going to go there, but yeah, I think it will be interesting to see whether he plays where he was, which is just kind of behind the striker and pushing forward from the midfield, or whether he drops a bit deeper with these new players coming in. I'm quite excited about this Lindstrom guy. It depends what he comes in at. I hopefully get to see him a bit in pre-season, but I'm hearing really good things. There's a lot of excitement among the fans about him, so he could be one to watch as well. Also, Ndiaye will look pretty good apparently in the first couple of friendlies. We have lost Onana, but he was more of a holding midfielder, so not really a fantasy asset.
Yeah, so Onana, that's a good segue onto the more defensive assets. You've obviously lost Onana, but you've signed the Tim Aruganan from Villa, so he's a holding midfielder.
Aruganan, that's not bad. Aruganan, yeah, he's apparently been done quite well in pre-season as well. Looked lively. I mean, it was kind of a, I wouldn't say swap deal, but it was kind of a deal involving Dobbin. He was like a sort of a bench up from the under 21s up bench kind of player. Scored a good goal for us actually, and he started to get a few cameo appearances. But it was kind of a swap between him and Urugbunum, between Villa and Everton, which
a PSR swap.
People might say it was to do with some sort of PSR shenanigans. But to be honest, the one thing I would say about that is the price of these players is like 10 or 11 million each. Like compared to some of the stuff we've seen going on, it's pretty lightweight. but yeah, that was swapping. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know much about him, to be honest, and whether he's gonna what he's gonna how much he's gonna play. He only got one start for um for Villa last season, so I imagine he'll be more of a cameo player coming in. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know a lot about him really, to be honest.
I mean, the reason why that sort of matters for fantasy managers is obviously the defenders Tarkowski and Branthwaite have had a bit of a price hike this year
Yeah.
to 5. You've still got Mikolenko at 4.5, but focusing on the centre backs, firstly, do you think they justify the price hike?
I think. Had they been 4.5s, there'd be one of them in my team at the start probably. But yeah, fives it makes it a little bit more difficult. I think they probably do justify the starting that we were one of the top 5 defenses. I think last season for most of it, not
Most clean sheets, wasn't it, Pickford?
yeah, most clean sheets. So I think the Everton defence, and I don't imagine that's going to change radically. I don't think Sean Dyche is going to suddenly turn over a new leaf and is going to be free flowing football and push everybody forward. So I think we're going to be difficult to beat. I think we're going to, we're not going to concede too much. You've got Pickford behind them as well, who is one of the best keepers in the league. I think obviously England's number 1, and he himself is a great defensive ass. So I think the decision about the back is more really whether you're going to go with Pickford, who I've got at the start of the season, or Brantford and Tarkowski or Mikolenko. I don't know if you double up. Our fixtures are good. Like I say, we're top of the over a 10. We're top of the season ticker. So maybe if it's Mikolenko, you can be a bit more forgiving. He is likely to start, assuming he's not carrying an injury from the Euros. He's we're waiting to see. He's not started yet in pre-season, so because he did get another knock. He got a knock at the end of the year, and he got a knock in for Ukraine in the Euros. So we'll have to see if he's fit enough to start. But I don't think he's a bad option. Obviously, you buy into that same defence. You're not getting extra points for like ball recoveries or tackles or anything really. So it's not like it matters which part of the defence you get. So Mikolenko thinks a good way in. A Young will kind of get a lot of games, I'm sure, well, regrettably, but he probably will. I don't hate Young. I think he's good cover. The problem is he's been used as kind of it's just as a main starter, usually ahead of a lot of the time on the right, ahead of Patterson. Which is a shame because there's a lot expected of him. So I don't really see Patterson as an option. I think Coleman will play where he can, and then probably Young when Coleman needs rotating and can't. So Mikolenko is probably at the moment is a decent punt if he's fit at the start of the season. But yeah, guaranteed starts. It's Branthwaite, Tarkowski, or Pickford. And I do think they're good. They get clean sheets. I think Branthwaite he's got a little bit of a goal threat. Got a couple of goals. He likes to get forward. Got 3 goals and assists last season. That's not bad. Tarkowski's only got 1 goal and assist. He does come up for corners. He does get the odd header. But yeah,
as the viewers can see on screen, Tarkowski's numbers are much better. He got an XGI of over 5 last year, so he underperformed that quite significantly.
Yeah.
And then Mikolenko at 2.5. So you are sort of paying that premium for a little bit more attacking threat for the centre backs. But yeah, as you mentioned, Chris, the fixtures are pretty good. So we'll bring up the ticker now for the podcast listeners. Everton are about mid-table. Doing this on the fly, I can count that they're 10th. Yeah, they are halfway. They begin with hosting Brighton, then they go to Spurs, then they host Bournemouth, then they're all away at Villa, and then they're away at Leicester. So a little bit of a mixed bag to start with.
If you do that if you do it on the first 6, that's why. If you broaden it out and you're looking for players to kind of keep longer term, as if it's on the bench, for instance, like with the Mikolenkos, then again, because the first 10, they are top of that ticker. If you broaden it out, if you use the members one, you can't do that on the free version, obviously. But yeah.
Yeah, so could be interesting assets. I've seen Mikolenko in a few teams that we've done on these videos. He seems to be the sort of favourite option. But as we'll see, when it comes to your team, you've got a different Everton defensive pick. So yeah, we'll get to Chris's team very shortly. But first of all, I just want to do a shout out to the Fantasy Football Scout Premium members area, which is currently 40% off. If you follow the link in the description, we've got so much on there this year. The preseason guide, you get access to all of that. The minutes tracker, which is really useful. Chris was talking about the Everton players, Ndai, who's looked good, and Mikolenko, who hasn't started yet. So you can track that for every team and every club. and every player. You can make your own stats tables, like the one that I made on screen for Everton there. Really simple. It only took me a couple of seconds. That's got all the Opta data, and very, very soon we'll have the StatsBomb expected data, which is the best model in the industry. So you can dive even deeper into the fantasy football stats there. And then, the fixture ticker as well, which Chris said, you can extend that out to 10 game weeks. And if you disagree with us, if you think we've misjudged the fixture difficulty, you can change it to your own ratings, and you can filter by attack and defence as well. So lots to get involved there, Chris.
Yeah, I think one of the great things about the ticker actually is it's completely customizable. So if you want to take out a week because you're doing a free hit, or just because you want to ignore, a particular week,
looking for a rotation,
you can completely do all that. And now, there's a lot of new stuff actually coming as well, because you now have all the Rate My Team stuff. Obviously, as part of the members, you can get points predictions for every player, and that's now is put in part of our planner, which is we've got like 2 planners at least. But one it's a historical one that still exists, and we got one that's got when we brought in Plan FPL, which one of the leading independent plans. We brought it into the members area, so you've got that in there, and within that you'll be able to track. You can kind of plan you can kind of rate your team, but you can also rate your plans. You can kind of plan your whole with all the changes and how the points work over a sort of 5 or 6 game week period. So loads of cool stuff. And StatsBomb is very nearly there. We've got it all in the beta area. We just need to do a couple of tweaks before it can go live, because it's completely new data. So Opta's brilliant. I don't want to diss Opta because it's fantastic, and we've got 14 years of Opta content for PL, plus the Euros, plus the international friendlies, plus the last World Cup if you want it. Got so much Opta data historically you can track and play with. But bringing some StatsBomb data in, which, as you say, is very good for XG, particularly also for pressing. There's a few things. They do it a completely different model of gathering data, so it gives you some different insights. So that needs to map, because it's different player IDs and everything. So it's quite a big job, but we are pulling that in, and we'll have that also for the UEFA Champions League game as well. That's another big job to be done. We're working on that as well. So that's on its way very, very soon. Hopefully, start of next week.
Yep. As Chris mentions there, we have incorporated Plan FPL into our members area and our team guide as well. So as I bring up Chris's team, that is perfectly illustrated, because Chris's team has been rated by Plan FPL, and it says it's going to score 52 points in game week 1. So if you think you can do better than that, get yourself to Plan FPL, and you get game week 1 is entirely free, so you can rate your team for free. You can get optimizations as well. And then if you want to look beyond game week 1, you'll need a premium membership, which you can get for 40% off in the link. So I will read out Chris's team for the podcast just quickly, and then he can start trying to defend some of these picks. So we've got Pickford in goal, a back 3 of Gvardiol, Saliba and Pedro Porro, pretty big at the back there. A midfield 5 of Palmer, Gordon, Foden, Rodgers and Salah, and then Watkins and João Pedro up front, who may or may not be injured, but we'll come to that. And then a bench of Sanchez, Leif Davis, Wout Faes of Leicester, and Chimiti, who is a Everton forward who I don't think has ever started a Premier League game. But so, Chris, first of all, though, why no Haaland?
So, can I just caveat this by saying, like everyone's draft, this is in process. I've done a lot of different drafts, so there's a few. I'll talk about some decisions I'm considering. I have been absolutely ripped apart in various channels, so I'm expecting more of the same. Why no Haaland? I've made a decision that for the first 5-6 game weeks, I'm going without Haaland. My plan is very much to have Haaland at some point of the season, but I just think it makes you too reliant on one player's performance if you go with Haaland. It's exactly what the game intended, to make the price so much that it just impacts on decisions elsewhere. I'm already making, as you can see, tons of compromises. Can you imagine who'd be on my bench if I had Haaland in here? I mean, literally, it'd be like the cleaning lady, the kind of guy that does that looks after the field. So I kind of groundsman, sorry, but I think that's the decision. I think you've got to make that decision, like, with this drafting process. Obviously, you can change right up into the thing, but I think you've got to make a conscious decision. Haaland, no Haaland. And then if you go with Haaland, then the second decision is Salah, no Salah. Because if you go Haaland, Salah, which I've seen a lot of people do, Sam, who's revealed her team, already has gone that route, and I was chatting to her earlier, and that defines so many of your other decisions. That filters down so much of your budget that you're straight away. It might distill your thinking a little bit, but it does kind of force you down a certain route. So I think Haaland's in great. I set a great FPL player, of course. I have got cover with Foden. That's what I'm thinking. So I've got obviously got City presence, but I think I can survive. I'm not looking forward to game week 2 already. I'm already thinking that I might have to be out as Mark suddenly goes pops the garden centre or something. But yeah, I obviously realised got quite a high view, got my ceiling. But yeah, I think I'm going without. I think I'm going without. So yeah. So
Yeah.
it's what it enabled you basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's enabled you. What it has enabled you is a really strong defense, probably the strongest defense that we've seen on this series
Yeah,
of team reveals. You've gone for three basically premiums in
I
Gvardiol,
have. Yeah,
Saliba, and
I'm glad you've
Porro,
noticed that. Yeah.
and then you've also got Pickford in goal. As we've seen in lots of these videos, most people really are going for 4.5. So, how are you sort of? I guess why are you spending that much at the back?
So the Pickford goal thing, um, I want something of Everton. If you look at, I think he's one of the best rated across from if you look at various predictor points models. I think the thing with Everton is we can keep clean sheets, but we're also going to see some shots, right? So and he's he picks up save points. He picks up more saves than anybody else in the division, I think, last season. So um, I think he's a good, even if he doesn't get a 6 point or a 7 pointer, I think you're usually going to get a 3 or a 4 pointer because he's got sort of 3 or 6 saves. So I think that's a factor. So I think Pickford's kind of probably a lock for me. I think I've gone with Sanchez as my backup just for rotate because I can see, you know, there's an option of just going Pickford, set and forget, and no one else, and just leave it there, which I might go to. I usually don't like to spend more than 9 million. So at the moment, I'm 500,000 over there what I'd usually spend on goalkeepers. Um, I heard an interesting idea, a suggestion. I think someone was making about going Raya and then a non-playing goalkeeper, which again would be because he's 5.5, so it would then still be 9.5. But yeah, I think getting into Everton defence makes sense to me. Pickford's, I don't like mucking about my goalkeepers really, so I think I leave Pickford in for most of the season. Occasionally rotate with whoever's my number 2 at the moment, Sanchez for Chelsea. So that's I'm relatively set on that. The variation, like you say, is big at the back. And after hearing the changes to the rules that make defenders less sexy potentially, what I thought was let's get more defenders in. That's what I thought. So I've listened. I've listened to what the established thinking is, and I've subverted it. No, I think Vardiol again is probably a lock. I want because that's again another bit of City coverage for me without Haaland. That's kind of another bit of a. I know he's not obviously covering Haaland in the way that Foden may a bit, but he has got forward. He is an attacking threat. I think he could be the best defender in the game if he's played at all like he was at the end of last season. Um, Pedro Porro is less of a lock. And in the conversations this morning, it's probably one of the things I'm maybe evaluating. Not because I don't think he's a great asset and he could get points early on, but I do worry about those fixtures away to Newcastle and against Arsenal. And I do see that my hopes are really upon Spurs, scoring a lot of goals and him being involved rather than him getting any clean sheets. And then there's the Arsenal defence. Um, I think the established wisdom is you've got to have. I mean, Arsenal are going to be. I expect Arsenal to be leading the Premier League, you know, by Christmas. I expect them to have one of the best defence, if not the best defence in the league. I don't think anything's. I think they're strengthening their defence. They're strengthening a bit here and there. I can't see anything but a regular supply of clean sheets from Arsenal. Certainly starting up for Wolves. Villa away maybe a bit more questionable, but Wolves and Brighton, I'm notching those down as cleans. I think even away to Spurs. There's an argument I could go Gabriel maybe slightly more goal threat. You probably tell me that Gabriel's gets up to corners more, and that might be an option. But I do want an Arsenal defence. So of those three, I'd say Gvardiol and probably Saliba are probably kind of locked in, and Porro's probably if I'm gonna kind of monkey around, which I probably need to do, Porro's probably the place that I go to do that, and I might be able to drop that right down to kind of a 4.5. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I'll be shocked if you have those three defenders for game week 1. I think you'll be too
Well,
tempted. You're
now it's
too
like a
tempted
dare,
in
isn't
the
it?
attack.
It's like a dare now, so I kind of have to now. So it's like,
But yeah,
yeah.
we'll go up front because I got to ask about Watkins. I think you're the first person who's got him in their team or her team for Sam. I think everyone else has gone with Isak, and I have to say I agree with them 100%. He's cheaper, he's on penalties, he's got better fixtures. But
We don't yet know that Watkins definitely isn't on penalties.
we don't know, but we do know that
discussion
Isak is.
within
We do
might
know that
be.
Isak is. So why Watkins? I guess.
I think Watkins is probably, putting aside Haaland, who's like a freak of nature. I think Watkins is probably the best centre forward in the league. And you know he can score with his head. He's really good on the ball. He's going to lead the line. He's going to start every match for Villa. I think Villa. I think Villa will kick on. I think Villa. They have weakened Douglas Luiz. Is Douglas Luiz. I kept saying David Luiz the other day, and it was very frustrating. But Douglas Luiz going is not ideal. But I don't know if that's going to be as critical a change as some people are suggesting. But I don't see anything but goals with Watkins really. And I don't think their fixtures are that bad. Obviously, home to Arsenal is a tougher game, but I could score in that. Obviously, I'm playing against my own defender there, so that's less ideal. But I think Watkins. I can't see when Watkins came out at 9 after seeing where Haaland was. I went, yeah, I'll have some of that. He didn't obviously do anything to dispel the rumor that he was very sharp in the Euros either, right? It's a shame he wasn't kind of leading the line all the time, but yeah. So I just think he's gonna be full of goals. I think they've got a good starting fixtures, and I don't see the problem with him. Isak is also a good pick. I don't have a problem with Isak, and I wouldn't I wouldn't throw you out for picking Isak. I don't think it's a stupid pick at all. I'm just not as convinced somehow. I don't know. There's something about me. I think having seen, um, I don't know. I guess he was. I just in my head, he feels like more of a rotation risk. I know, obviously, Wilson's not now gonna, be as more of a cameo player.
Wilson's injured at the minute.
Yeah, so exactly. So he will start, but I also do fully expect Newcastle to have another forward come the start of the season. They would have had, if they could agree contracts, and they might still have, they would have had Calvert-Lewin. And if they get to, they were looking at Calvert-Lewin, that says to me they're looking for another centre forward. That says to me they're not going into the season with just Isak there. So, yeah, I think, I don't, so opening fixtures is the main argument for getting Isak that I would sort of bow to a bit, in that you've got Southampton and Bournemouth, and then sort of Spurs. So I think that is the one area that I could be persuaded on. That, and the fact I desperately need money for something else I want to do. Like if I wanted to go Pedro to Wood, I feel like I started a bit of a Wood bandwagon, and now I've not got my team. I feel quite ashamed.
Yeah, you've left the train driverless, Chris.
I did. I started the train, and then I saw there was like a bridge out up ahead, and I thought, oh, I better get off here. And I've left everybody on it. But yeah, the fixtures are really good for Isak. I'm not ruling him out. I'm not ruling out a switch to Isak entirely, but at the moment I'm happy with Watkins. I'm less happy with the rest of the forward line.
Yeah, I'm gonna come to this sort of axis of power that we've got on the right hand side of the screen. You've got Rodgers, João Pedro, who's injured, and Chimiti, who doesn't start. So in game week 2, you're going to have Rodgers playing Arsenal. You're going to have João Pedro, who's not fit, and Chimiti to come on the bench, who's not going to play. So what's going on there?
I don't know. What's your? You're trying to pinpoint their problem in that. I'm not quite. Is there a question in it? I mean, I don't know what you're trying to say. I think Chimiti will play. I actually, looking at pre-season, he's looked the sharpest of our forwards. I actually think he might. I think he might start. Because I don't Calvert-Lewin. I don't actually think it's going to be there, to be brutally honest. I think if we get a half decent offer from someone, and you know what happens towards the end of the transfer window, then I think I think he could be on his way. I think it's just terms really. He wants a lot of money, which is fair enough. Totally, he's right. But I don't think we're going to offer him the contract terms. We're not doing those sort of crazy contracts anymore. And obviously Newcastle weren't doing it either. So I think, but someone might, and I think if someone offers him the contract terms he wants, the fee's probably not going to be prohibitive. So I think he'll be off. And I think Chimiti, he's one player that's been scored in pre-season so far and look decent up front. So I think he might come in. Is he a fixture in my team that I can't remove? No. Is he a 5 million holding space at the moment? Yeah, yeah, he is. Um, if I do make the Pedro Porro move, then I look at those two differently. If I move, if I get 1 million back, Pedro Porro, if I got 500,000 back, Isaac, then yeah, that forward line is different. João Pedro, I can't believe. So is he definitely injured? He had a light. Last I heard, he had a slight knock or a rib injury that kept him out of the Japanese tour, but wasn't considered serious. So I don't know how. Um,
I mean, yeah, that is
I
the
don't.
latest, but missing preseason probably isn't going to help his cause with the new manager.
Well,
But
if he's
yeah, I
got
mean, if
bad
he's
ribs,
fit, if
it's
he's
not
fit,
permanent
he's going
train
to be a
to.
great asset for sure.
Yeah. Well, everyone's been banging on about João Pedro on penalties, blah blah. Who else is going to start front? And if you look at Brighton's wing players now. I mean, like they've already had Matoma, got March, they've got this was it Adelang? I can't remember his name. What's his name?
Adingra
Adingra, thank
and
you.
Minter as well, the new
Minter
signing.
guy, and there's someone else who are talking about the game that's come in. They're gonna create so many chances for someone in the centre. Um, so yeah, again, obviously I've got room to move that. I wouldn't be against going to Wood if I can make the money work. I would go for Wood because I think Wood is could be a nice differential, and I think Forest starting fixtures are fine, and I think he's going to start every match and he's going to get chances. He's not going to be dribbling up the pitch and scoring worldies, but is he going to get balls into him in the box? 100%. So I think Wood is a maybe. I could have Isaac and Wood, or I could just say get rid of Pedro Porro and I could come down to something else. So yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about the midfield.
I'm happy with the midfield.
Yeah,
It
it
can't
looks
be argued
good.
midfield.
You've got Palmer, Foden, Gordon, Rodgers, and Salah.
Yeah.
Not many people have had Palmer in these reveals, which is quite surprising because he's one of the most highly owned players in the game. But
He is. He's very highly picked in the
yeah,
game. I'm surprised there's not more people with him. I think it's the Nkunku virus, isn't it? I think
virus is a bit harsh.
no, but I know with people. Was it Musk goes on
Obsession,
the
obsession.
woke mind virus? But you look at Chelsea's fixtures. Okay, City at home. To be honest, I don't even. I mean, it's difficult fixture. Obviously, Man City the best team in the league. Right, I get that. But I think they're not a great starters, to the season, and I don't think they're a I don't think they can't be scored against early on. They do all right early on, and then they just kind of build into this unstoppable momentum. It's like the Juggernaut, right, in Marvel films. I don't think that's a game that Palmer can't score in, or Nkunku either. But you look at their fixtures, and it's Wolves away, Palace at home, Bournemouth away, West Ham away, Brighton at home, Forest at home. Those are all games they're going to want to go into expecting to win, to score and win. And I want a strong Chelsea asset in there. If Nkunku keeps showing it in pre-season and he looks absolutely nailed and he looks like and they don't get anybody else in and he's clearly playing as a midfielder out of position up front, then that does kind of put the cat amongst the pigeons a little bit. I don't know that is the case yet.
I would just
Chelsea.
say on that, I think for the nailed, he'll be nailed. I think he's fit, which is good, but he'll be playing in midfield from what we've seen in pre-season. He's been playing as an 8 so far. So, but that didn't stop him scoring in the last game.
No, it didn't stop him. Bro, you got an assist. He's not probably playing. But yeah.
And then
Chilwell
Salah,
gets Wrexham.
yeah, scored against Wrexham. He did, yeah. And then Salah and Foden. Obviously, no Arsenal attack. You've gone for Salah and Foden. I guess without HAALAND, you'll want Salah for captaincy. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I think Salah, Liverpool, of the top teams, I think Fulham are top of the first six fixture ticket as it stands. Those things do get updated after a few games, just when we know more about the promoted teams and how people's form is. But I think at the moment Salah's Liverpool's second. I don't know enough. I mean, we were talking about earlier actually about Slot and how he's going to play. Favours a high press, which so far so familiar, right? So, if he plays a similar style. I mean, Salah's Salah. He had a bit of a wave at the end of after the injury, but he still was turning in some decent points. Just wasn't maybe quite as high as some expected. And then he's had a break. He's going to the Olympics, but only to hold the flag apparently. So he's not really. That's what I heard. I don't think that's true. That's what someone was, read that on Twitter or something.
He'll be done by now, then, won't he?
Yeah, he'll be back. So I don't. He's not had the grueling. He's not had a grueling sort of summer. So he'll
Neither's
be.
HAALAND.
Neither's Haaland. No, I'm not saying Haaland's not an incredible pick. It just changed where you play. So I think if you haven't got Haaland, I don't think you can afford to be without Salah. I feels like the kind of if you're without Haaland and Salah, then you're very brave. I think Salah for that first seven is just going to be a lock and is going to be captain for a lot of those games. Although Foden, we'll see how he starts. One of the things that's been said to me a couple of times, which is a fair point about players coming back from the Euros, is I've got Saliba, I've got Foden, I've got Vardy, I've got Palmer, I've got Watkins, and Pickford. I mean, goalkeepers not so much, and Fives, I guess you could say. So but certainly from a Watkins and Foden and Saliba perspective, and Palmer that went quite far into the tournament, and so if you believe that being in those European tournaments does mean you're not going to start or not going to start as strongly, then which is something I think we're doing an article on looking at previous tournaments. But I think if it does, then you've got to ask question marks about those selections. But again, if I'm going without Haaland, I can't go without an attacking asset. KDB looks like he's going to go, and he's probably not a definite starter anyway. So where else do you go? I think Foden's the only real. I could go with like a Silva or something, I guess. But I think it's got to be kind of Foden. I think with Foden and Vardy, I feel like I've got a good grip on some City attacking options, and obviously at the back. But it's not Haaland. I get that. But yeah, Salah is a. I don't with Liverpool. Salah's way in. Trent, I can see it's a really good option, and I think if you're going to really back Liverpool, you go Trent as well. I'm not as convinced yet of their clean sheet potential. So you're looking at Trent from a attacking perspective, which he has delivered in historic seasons. But so yeah, I'm not as convinced on Trent up front. It's just a bit of a lottery, isn't it? I don't know. Is Nunes going to start? And if he is, can you kind of bear to put him in your team? Is Jota going to play? If Jota was relatively nailed or 80-90% nailed on, I think Jota would be a really interesting differential up front. Gakpo looked really good at the in the tournament in the Euros, but is he going to start? How is he going to play him? Where's he going to play exactly? I think there's a few question marks there. If I knew again Gakpo or Jota was starting up front, I'd probably be looking at them as options. I can't. I've been to Nunes before. Can't go there again. I've told myself, told my family I won't go there again. Don't keep putting money in the machines. So yeah, can't do that.
Yeah, no, it's a good team. It's a little bit different without Haaland, but look, you're not going to win FPL by going template.
I'm not going to win FPL. That's absolutely true. I'll give you that.
You've got Watkins in there, who we haven't seen yet in this series. Palmer as well, who we haven't seen that much. Apart from Az, I think he was the only other one with Palmer. So, look, 52 points is projected to score. Could be better, but could be a lot worse as well. So, if you want to check out your team,
the projections, right?
Yeah.
So.
If you want to check out your team on Plan FPL, it's free. You can check out your Game Week 1 team. You can optimize it, get it rated, see how it compares to this. It might be a little bit higher, but I don't know. And
I'm not. Yeah, I'm kind of. I'm looking ahead as well. Looking Game Week 2, Foden and I don't know. I think I'm okay for the first three. One thing I would say is I'm looking at whether a wild card or a mini wild card with transfers. I imagine I'm thinking of going to Haaland, assuming he's fit and playing and doing well, probably for the start of their next good run. Like I think it's Game Week 6 or 7. I'm got in front of me, but yeah. So I am looking at. Looking ahead to having Haaland at some point, but I need if you go without him in the start to get there, you need a number of transfers, and
yeah. Well, thank you very much, Chris, for the team reveal. Make sure to check out Fantasy Football Scout Premium with the link in the description for 40% off to get access to the complete Plan FPL projections and transfer planner. So as Chris says, if you do go without Haaland, you can make your emergency plan to get him straight back for Ipswich at home in Game Week 2. But yeah, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We've got more team reveals soon. We've got Gianni coming tomorrow. You can go back and watch Mark Sutherland's as FPL General, Sam as well, Ed as well, all sorts of managers, lots of big variety in teams, which is really good this year. So yeah, drop the video a like, make sure you're subscribed, and if you're listening on the podcast, give us a 5-star review if you like what you hear. So Chris, thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Enjoyed it. Please feel free to give me your views in the comments. I'll go and hide behind a sofa now to avoid the shrapnel.
Just like you'll be joining Ed behind the sofa then, based off his comments.
I bet you Ed was a little bit more gung-ho about his selections though, wasn't he?
Triple Arsenal defence. Yeah, but do check out that video. But yeah, thank you, Chris. Cheers, guys.